There is a moment most people remember exactly. A 12-year-old girl walks onto one of the biggest stages in television, presses a pink rabbit named Petunia against her side, and opens her mouth. What comes out stops the room. Not because it is good for a child. Not because it is impressive for her age. But because it is simply, undeniably, one of the most controlled and emotionally rich vocal performances anyone in that audience has ever heard live. The judges stand before the last note lands. Mel B reaches forward and hits the golden buzzer without hesitation. Gold confetti falls from above, and the girl standing underneath it looks like she cannot quite process what just happened to her life. That was May 2017. Darci Lynne Farmer was 12 years old. And what almost nobody understood in that moment was that the girl collecting all that applause had spent most of her childhood too afraid to speak to a stranger at a restaurant. The distance between those two versions of the same person is the real story, and it does not end where most people think it does. Darci Lynne grew up in Oklahoma City, the daughter of Clark and Misty Farmer, with 3 brothers and a full and ordinary family life. But ordinary never quite fit her internally. She was deeply, almost painfully shy. Not the kind of shy that fades after a few minutes in a new setting. The kind that made ordering food at a restaurant feel impossible. Her mother would place the order for her every single time they went out because Darci simply could not make herself speak to a stranger. She described it herself years later, hiding behind her mother, keeping her eyes on the floor, refusing to look anyone she did not know in the eye. This was not a phase her parents were waiting out. This was genuinely who she was. And yet, believing that she was meant for something bigger than that fear, her parents began placing her in situations that directly challenged it. By age 6, she was competing in child beauty pageants. Alongside that, she was deep inside elite gymnastics training, putting in over 30 hours a week at a level that most adults would struggle to sustain. Every single environment her parents chose was built around being watched, judged, and evaluated. For a girl who could not order a meal without trembling, this was a lot to carry. But in 2014, something clicked. She competed in the International Cinderella Scholarship Program and won the title of International Mini-Miss, and while she was there she encountered a teenage performer named Larissa Bonaquisti who did ventriloquism. Something about watching it lit a feeling in Darci that nothing else had managed to reach. She went home and asked for a puppet. Her mother told her no. She was already stretched across too many commitments. Ventriloquism felt like a distraction from everything already on her plate. Darci kept asking. She did not stop. And just before her 10th birthday, her parents finally gave in and bought her a second-hand doll named Katie from eBay. The moment she held it, her mother said later, it did not look like excitement. It looked like relief. Like something she had been searching for had finally arrived. Darci would explain the reason simply and clearly when she was older. She wanted the puppet so the audience would look at something else instead of her. She had found the one performing format in the world that let her be on stage without being fully exposed. And from the day that doll arrived, she disappeared into practicing it. Every day, alone in front of a bathroom mirror, she worked on keeping her lips still. She practiced the alphabet, ran through tongue twisters, forced her mouth into stillness while pushing sound up through her throat. Ventriloquism sounds like a simple trick from the outside. It is not. Letters like B, M, P, and W require the lips to move. Getting around them demands a level of muscular control and mental focus that takes most performers years to develop. Darci was doing it seriously within 30 days of getting her first puppet. She entered a local competition called Edmund's Got Talent with only a month of practice behind her, stood in front of strangers, and won. What followed was a momentum that kept building without pause. She took first place in Oklahoma Kids. She won the junior division of Oklahoma's Got Talent. She traveled to Branson, Missouri and dominated a national competition called American Kids, winning in the Broadway category, the Specialty Acts category, and being named Overall Entertainer of the Year. A professional ventriloquist named Gary Owen saw her perform and recognized something rare enough that he voluntarily stepped in as both her coach and business manager. He also gave her a puppet, a shy, soft-spoken mouse named Oscar that became one of her most beloved characters. By 2016, she was appearing on national television for the first time, performing on Little Big Shots alongside Steve Harvey, who was so stunned he brought out a puppet version of himself mid-performance. In July of that same year, she was invited to perform at the Vent Haven International Ventriloquists Convention, a gathering with over 4 decades of history where adult professionals who had spent lifetimes mastering the craft gave an 11-year-old girl a standing ovation. The industry was no longer simply aware of her. It was watching her. Then came America's Got Talent Season 12. Her Golden Buzzer audition performing Summertime, a song her father used to sing to her privately, became one of the most watched moments in the show's history. Her performances on AGT's YouTube channel have now accumulated over 90 million views, and her finale performance remains one of the most watched in the franchise's history. She carried Oscar through a deeply emotional Loving You in the quarterfinals. She introduced the sharp and hilarious Edna, an outspoken older woman puppet who flirted with Simon Cowell while singing Natural Woman in the semifinals. In the finale, she brought Oscar and Petunia together for a version of With a Little Help from My Friends that she had learned the day before and performed as though she had known it her entire life. Simon Cowell told her on air he believed she was going to win. He was right. She collected over 52 million votes in the finale and was named the Season 12 champion. Her homecoming show in Oklahoma sold out in 6 minutes. Organizers had to add another show, then more. She performed at Caesar's Palace on New Year's Eve alongside Fergie. The prize was officially $1 million. What most people did not know was that the prize is paid as an annuity over 40 years, roughly $25,000 per year before taxes, or a reduced lump sum after deductions. The real financial foundation of what came next was not a television prize. It was the decision her family made immediately afterward. Her parents made a choice that permanently changed all of their lives. Her father Clark stepped away from his career in banking software sales. Her mother Misty left her job teaching preschool and leading worship at their church. Both of them walked away from stable income to manage the career of a 12-year-old. Her first tour launched in 2018 and expanded to 52 shows across the country, including a Christmas run. It was the tours, not the television prize, that built the financial reality of her adult life. Private performances were reportedly commanding fees reaching into 6 figures. Her YouTube channel crossed 1 million subscribers. Merchandise, speaking appearances, and television opportunities kept arriving. And through all of it, she was still a child navigating what it actually meant to grow up inside a career that had already defined her public identity before she reached high school. By 8th grade, conventional school was no longer compatible with touring. She switched to homeschooling. In May 2023, she graduated from Deer Creek High School on time, walking across the stage on the same day as classmates who had spent 4 years in hallways and lunch tables and football games together. Her 4 years had looked nothing like theirs. She had been traveling the country performing in sold-out theaters while they were building the ordinary teenage world that most people take completely for granted. She has spoken openly about what those years cost emotionally. The anxiety, the exhaustion, the pressure of maintaining the exact version of herself the world had fallen in love with, always cheerful, always sweet, always the puppet girl. When the COVID pandemic shut everything down in 2020, it was the first time in years she was forced to simply stop. She used that silence differently than most people expected. She started writing songs. She picked up the piano. She taught herself guitar. For the first time she was creating something without a puppet in her hands, without a character to speak through, without a place to hide. And that shift, quiet as it was, turned out to be the beginning of the most significant artistic change of her career. In 2024, she returned to the AGT stage for America's Got Talent, Fantasy League, and told interviewers that she felt people had frozen her at 12, and she was ready to show them who she was now. She called it Darci 2.0. In the semifinals, she performed her original song, Let Go of Petunia mid-performance, strapped on a guitar, and took the lead herself. 3 judges, 3 completely different responses. Heidi Klum stood up and gave a standing ovation, recognizing the growth immediately. Mel B pushed back, arguing that the ventriloquism was what made her special and that she was walking away from it. Simon Cowell, the hardest judge to impress on that panel, said he respected her for ignoring the advice, trusting herself, and stepping out on her own. She did not advance past the semifinals. But she had done something more important than winning a competition. She had publicly declared, in front of millions of viewers, that she was no longer willing to be reduced to the image the world had assigned her at age 12. She said it herself plainly. Music had always been her first love, and fulfilling careers are rarely straight lines, especially when they begin so young. Her debut single, Push Our Luck, was released in February 2024. She executive produced the music video herself at 19 years old and entered it into film festivals, where it won Best Music Video at the Los Angeles Film Awards. More singles followed throughout the year and into 2025, including Someone Wake Me Up, Takes a Melody, Hold Me, and Better Late Than Never. She has described her songwriting process as coming entirely from lived experience, one day country rock, the next soulful pop, with no formula and no attempt to stay inside a lane. On the acting side, she appeared in the 2024 biographical film Reagan starring Dennis Quaid, a project that reached audiences well beyond her existing fanbase. She has also built a voice acting portfolio, appeared across multiple Nickelodeon productions, and continued to expand what it means to be Darci Lynne Farmer beyond the single category television gave her. Her 2025 headlining tour, Up Close and Personal, extended through the first half of 2026 with dates added across the country, with particular attention to cities across America's heartland. The shows run in 600 to 1,500-seat theaters featuring ventriloquism, original music, and comedy, clean, family-friendly, and nearly entirely sold out. She celebrated her 21st birthday on the road in 2025, and fans watching her year-end recap noted how confident and genuinely happy she appeared. One viewer called her a superstar. Another said they were proud of the woman she had become. The shows include both her puppets and her solo material, which is the most honest representation yet of who she actually is. Not the puppet girl. Not the solo singer. Both at once, on her own terms. What makes Darci Lynne's story genuinely different from the standard child star narrative is not that she survived it. It is how deliberately she has moved through it. She never publicly burned anything down. She never disappeared into a breakdown. She kept performing, kept writing, kept expanding, while quietly and persistently working toward the version of herself that had nothing to do with what a talent show decided she was at age 12. She is now 21, the youngest ventriloquist ever to win a televised talent competition, and she is still here, not coasting on the win, not trading on nostalgia, but actively building something new. The girl who once could not order food at a restaurant without trembling is now headlining national tours, writing and producing her own music, and performing in sold-out rooms where the audience sits close enough to watch every single movement on her face. She chose that. She built that stage on purpose. And the most interesting thing about where Darci Lynne Farmer is right now is not what she has already done. It is how clearly she understands what she is still becoming.